got what you wanted, but you got what you need. Now you got what you wanted, you ain't got what you need. You ain't got what you wanted, but you got what you need. Now you got what you wanted, but you ain't got what you need. No one said it'd be easy, no one said it'd be good. No one ever tried to teach me, even though I wish they would.
Big Prop the Jewel podcast. I'm honored to have my guest with me, Dustin Wareham. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, homie. You know what I mean? Like, try my best to stay up, stay healthy. You know what I'm saying? How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm blessed, brother.
Okay, that's what's up. That's proper.
So this is a very talented brother. This guy is an artist. I've had the pleasure of performing at the same venue as him. I've also had the pleasure to watch his segments that he has. He's got these reels where he talks about pop culture in the 80s and the 90s. He's also got a podcast where Toronto Talks, he's a co host of. Man,
Show my Toronto
thank
Talks co-host,
yes, sir. Yes.
Maloney, Mike Stone.
Yeah, shout
Yeah,
out to
man.
Mike Stone, DJ Mike Stone.
DJ Mike Stone. That's what's up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Yo, you're a Renaissance man out here, man.
I'm trying, you know what I mean? Toronto Talks we haven't really done in a minute. We're gonna get back to that. At least I hope, you know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, COVID kind of shut that down, and I wound up having a kid. Maloney wound up having a kid. But that's still the fam. And if opportunity presents itself, we get that back up and running. Definitely love to get that back up and running again. The music, man, you know what I mean? Like, I love doing the music, but once you have a kid, it's hard to make the music, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
especially when they're young, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of your time is just spent being a dad, being a parent, you know what I mean? And that's how I wound up getting into like these little TikTok videos that I do and stuff now, because I needed an outlet. I needed something that I could still, wrap my head around and kind of have as my own thing, right? So I wound up doing these like TikTok videos and, going from there with them.
Shout out to you for doing that, man, and find an outlet like that. It's very entertaining. I can tell you do a lot of research because you bring in a lot of information I didn't even know. I thought I knew a lot about a lot of different things, but yeah, every video you've got some new information.
Nah, appreciate that, bro. Yeah, it's just like I might get an idea or remember something. So what I'll do is be like, okay, let me go back and just quickly research that on Google or YouTube or whatever. I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. All right. And then I'll write out a script and, do a little video on that particular topic or whatever. But a lot of it's just kind of like Seinfeld style knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of like BS stuff that just pops up in my head. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna do a video about that. Or I watch a movie and I'm like, let me talk about that, and a lot of it is centric to like the 80s, 90s, early 2000s as well, because those are like my formative years, you know what I mean?
Yeah, me too, yo.
Yeah, we old, man.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, yo. Like I like to hear things from our generation, people. Like I think we just have we relate to the world differently than other generations.
Yeah,
Like we've
no,
seen
I feel
things,
that. I
we've
feel that.
seen so much changes, and I don't think every other generation really seen.
We seen it, but we kind of pioneered it. Because, like, if you think about the internet, like, we really crafted that and molded it around the things that we like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To a point where it's like, I remember anime being so hard to find when I was like a teenager. Like when we were teenagers, you know what I mean? Like
Everything, yo.
it was so hard to find. But now, if you're an anime fan, you know what I mean? Like these kids, they don't have to leave their house to get it. Like it's just there online. They could find anything. They could, find interviews with the creator and what I mean, like everything for
Right,
free. But for
everything.
us,
Yeah.
yeah, even music. Like for
That's
us,
what I
we
was
had to
gonna say,
dig
man.
for
And
it.
music, you couldn't find anything. Like all you had
Yeah,
was the radio,
yeah.
and you would have
You
to
had the
record
radio.
that on tape.
Yeah. You had to record it or you had to go to HMV and be like, yo, can I, bump this CD and like check it out and see if you really wanted to buy it? Because the
Yeah,
single might have been dope, but the album might not have been as good as a single, you know what I
right,
mean? So
right, right.
But that was the thing. We had to we dug for that shit. So now the internet, because we were like, yo, I want to just get it like that. And that's what the internet's turned into because we were that generation. It was like, all right, cool, like we did we paid our dues. Now let's get this stuff quick and easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like we would have to wait for the next
Yeah.
episode. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
these kids have no
Yeah.
idea what it's like waiting a whole like year for the next season, and like it's
Yeah,
crazy. Like just for the next episode or something, like I don't
exactly.
know, they get everything instantly. They could binge watch the whole thing
Yeah.
and then be done with it. We were waiting.
Yeah. They don't even know that voice, on the next Dragon Ball Z. And you're like, what do you mean the next? It's Friday.
Yo, I'm
I don't want to
telling
wait
you,
till
yo,
Monday.
yeah, that shit pissed me off so much.
These kids be like, next. Fuck, all right, next
I'm just
episode.
like, yo, nothing happened this episode. Like, what do you mean? They just stood there and talked at each other. I'm just like, yo, what
Scream.
the hell, man? Yeah,
Trust me.
no, that's how it is, yo. Like, I definitely know there's some 80s baby struggles.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Like we went through it, you know what I mean? Like even just to watch the cartoons that we wanted to watch, like we had to wake up at like 6 in the morning sometimes. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like it would be on like Global or something because they'd all play cartoons until like 9 in the morning, and then they play cartoons and after school for a few hours. So like you had to, what I mean? You had to be up early and maybe fight with a sibling for the TV if you wanted to watch that show that you really wanted to watch as a kid. Like we had it rough.
remember Batman was like 6 or 7 in the morning, Like, I
Yo,
had to be up early to watch some Batman before school.
right? You know what I mean? Like kids don't even know the struggle. Now they just roll over and grab the iPad.
And it's there on demand. Everything's on
Exactly.
demand, yo. It's pretty wild, yo.
Nah, it is, but at the same time, that's why, like, you know what I mean? Like when we complain about the state of music and the state of whatever, like sometimes, I'm guilty of it too. Like I complain of the state of hip hop, but at the same time, it's like, yo, there's so much out there. If you're not enjoying what's given to you on the front page of Facebook and YouTube, yo, go dig, you know what I mean, or whatever. Because you could literally go back and listen to your favorite artist album from back in the day, their whole back catalog, check out some new shit they did that you didn't even know dropped because it's not being published and marketed the way that it was 20 years ago. And you know what I mean? Like there's so many gems that are out there now for free. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think we forget that. You know what I mean? Like I think we literally forget that like there's so much choices and options and availability now for free compared to what we had to do coming up just to find the stuff that we loved.
Yeah. I think we're just like right there in the middle, yo, because I think there's like, especially in the hip hop community, there's people that are before us, the generation before us, that are just like shit on all the new shit. And then the
Yeah,
new cats after us that shit on all the old shit. And we're
yeah.
just there. We can appreciate both sides and everything in between.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I'm not mad at the new stuff because every generation has to do their own thing. And truthfully, like if it's not for me, then shit, like cool. I'm not 20 years old anymore, so it's not for me. You know what I mean? I can't be mad at that. And I think a lot of people have a problem accepting when certain artwork isn't made for them anymore. You know what I mean? When they're not that demographic and they don't realize like you aged out of that market, bro. They don't care about your opinion the way you think they do or they did 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. It's like really constrained the idea of what it is. But it's always been like that, like even with jazz music, like people would think like, yo, jazz music has to sound like this. And then when Miles Davis goes out and does something else, they thinking he's gone crazy and they don't like what
Right.
he's doing, but
Right.
people gotta experiment, they gotta get out of
Mhm.
the bubble and people have to be free to create what they want.
Absolutely. Switch it up, take the reins off, you know what I mean? Switch it up, innovate, because it might not be hot today, but 5 years from now, people might look back and be like, yo, that was prophetic. They saw the curve before it even happened. You know
Right,
what I
right.
mean?
Yeah, yeah. And that's interesting too, is because like the South, like we grew up seeing it go from New York
Mm,
to the West Coast to the South,
right, right,
and it's like they were hating on the South.
for
Like I
sure.
can honestly say that, and it's like I think New York's kind of in denial about how much they were hating on the South, but
Mhm.
um, they changed music big time, man. They still got a huge grip on it, like a huge influence on what's happening now.
No doubt. For me personally, like I'm definitely guilty of doing that when I was younger, especially, you know what I mean, like when I was like a teenager. Outcast really was like the outlier for me that really I was like shit. And I'm talking early Outcast because my cousin brought home Southern Playalistic and he threw that on and right away I was just like, oh, this shit is fucking fire. But I was like 13, 14. I still wasn't really vibing to like 8 Ball MJG and you know what I mean, dudes like that yet. But by the time I was like 17, 18, I really started digging it. And the reason why, to be completely honest with you, I started fucking like straight up. You know what I mean? Because the beats were different. You know what I'm saying? Like the subject matter was different.
Yeah,
I got the 70s, grooves and samples that they were throwing on in the funk. You know what I mean? Like it was like, yeah, man, this is what it is. This is, you know what I mean? This is adult shit. You know what I mean? Like the beats weren't just so, you know what I mean? Like East Coast scratching. And I still loved all that stuff, but it was just I had that respect for the South at that point because it was like it had that, you know what I mean? It had that touch to it that just remind me about, you know what I'm saying, like when I was trying to get it on with girls. So I was like, yo, I dig this.
it's
I
real
feel
shit.
it.
Real shit. Like the South, they had that player shit down locked.
Yeah.
Had that
Yeah.
shit
And,
down pat, man.
and it wasn't even so much like, I mean, yeah, the player shit, you know what I mean, the pimp shit, but it was like the beats and that old school funk and you know what I mean, like 70s style that they were like really fucking with and just the slower tempos and
Right,
you know
right.
what I mean? It was,
To this day, I still like the slower tempos, even like West Side Gun and them. Like I still like the
mm,
slower shit. Like I noticed
mhm,
because I've been a producer for a long time, and I'm just my beats are always slower than everybody else's, and I don't know why. Just maybe that's just my heartbeat, my pace, just how I operate is just slower
right.
and laid back. But nah, I've always liked the South. I mean, there's some stuff I didn't like, the D4L and all that. I like just the
Mhm,
super simplified commercial stuff I didn't like, but UGK I always loved.
right.
Outcast I always loved. 8 Ball, MGG, all of them. Like it was a lot. So I
Six
was always that.
Mafia and yeah, man.
But we all like they always talk about Soldier Boy, I mean, Soldier Boy took a lot of fucking arrows when he was a
Mm,
little kid, and like he took a lot of hate when it came out.
I think so, but he was one of those dudes who was ahead of the curve. He might not have musically been ahead of the curve, but marketing wise, he definitely was at that time. I think he's still trying to ride on that pony, into the sunset or whatever. I don't know if he's ever going to be relevant the way he was at that point again, but you
Shit,
know, he
like
he, he was that, yeah, that internet
he had the
wonder kid
dance.
who, yeah,
Everybody
yeah,
was dancing,
that
Yeah,
shit
the
was organic.
Superman.
You know what I mean? Like that shit more than anything, like that was organic. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me switch
That's
my hat up
definitely
there.
hip hop. Like you can't even
Yeah.
deny it was still like it might not have been New York hip hop or like old school hip hop, but he had
Hmm.
the dance, he had the fashion, he had
Right.
the style, and it's like the music, and it was just like he definitely had that was a version of hip hop. People weren't
Hmm.
like our generation or the generation before it wasn't really feeling it. But
Well, I mean, more so for me, like what impressed me about what he did was the fact that like he did it organically on the internet, and he's the first one to really do that.
yeah,
So the way he was able to just, bust off of this track and get it out there off of YouTube, no one had ever done that. And he did
yeah,
that without any backing. And I think the song got on Entourage, and from there just absolutely blew. So I mean, good for him. You know what I mean? Like because
shit.
dudes were trying with MySpace and whatnot, and some of them, did decent. But I mean, he took it to a whole other level, via YouTube and whatnot.
Okay,
Again, people are gonna
MySpace.
be mad, you know.
They said MySpace, yo. Hold on.
Oh man, we go back, bro. We go back like MySpace and Friendster.
Yo, you remember MSN? The
And of
MSN days?
course, MSN and ICQ and
Oh,
all those
shoot.
days, bro.
Black Planet. Oh,
Yeah. Yahoo Chat, all that stuff, bro. I was on the internet probably in like 94. So like I was
word, yeah, yeah.
early,
Shoot,
early,
I wasn't on it till
early.
like maybe just before 2000. Maybe like,
Okay, okay.
yeah, yeah,
I was on it since like 94. And it was just all like Netscape was the navigator. It was Netscape, whatever. And it was just all text based. A picture, man, a picture would take like 5 minutes to load. Just like
that's crazy. Yeah,
so long, especially if you had a 14 4K modem and you know what I mean. But like I said, like we totally shaped and molded that into like our thing. You know what I mean? We went through the trenches with it to the days
yeah.
of just text-based, communication and whatever, and websites where it's just stories and telling you information about people to, full-on video and you know what I mean? Like what we're doing right now, this bro, like if you told yourself and you know what I mean, even when you started fucking with the internet, you know what I mean, in like 99 or whatever, yo, by 20 by 2023, 2024, it's going to be the norm to use your phone to communicate with people via video. And
Face
it's
to
been like that
face.
already for
Yeah.
10 years, face to face. And
So
you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
Star Trek shit, yo.
yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
shit.
You remember Reboot? All
There
right.
we
So
go.
remember he had that thing on his wrist called Glitch?
Yeah, sir. Yeah.
We're probably 10 years away from our phone being on our wrist like that or embedded, you know what I mean? And it's holographic or whatever, where it's like, yo, blah, blah, blah. Because we already talked to our phones. We could already say, hey, Google this, that, and the other, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it'll do whatever and just flip our wrists and it gives us whatever we want. And
Yeah, yeah. No, but yo, that's it. That's it. That's Canadian show too, right?
yeah, YTV, bro. YTV.
Yeah, man. Like that's a huge thing to me because I think it's like I don't think we talk enough about Canadian content, like
Mm,
just being from Canada, like
absolutely.
there's so much that's American content that like everybody relates to, but it's like Canadian content, there's so much that like only us Canadians know, and especially our generation, like shit,
Exactly.
so many shows I just grew up with. Like Reboot was a huge impact,
Yep.
like on how I see the world and understand like the computers and
Yeah.
like Enzo when Enzo became a grown man and everything. Yo,
Yeah.
that shit was
Yeah.
the
Came back
craziest
with
shit.
the came back with the beard, the 5 o'clock
Yo, that
shadow, the
was
whole
fire,
nine.
man. That was crazy, yo.
No,
That was
absolutely. We
crazy.
we definitely grew up with, like a lot of things that are kind of signature to us. Like even Degrassi before Drake was on it, you know what I mean? That was a thing. You know what I mean? Like that was a big show that, you know, we saw and we knew, and then all of a sudden there's this new version before Drake's even, household name, and he's on the new version, and but the old version, like we grew up with that. We would see that in school. Like they would show us specials. Oh, you gotta watch this Degrassi special, and in the library there'd be Degrassi videos you could take out or whatever. And you see someone like Kevin Smith, who's one of my favorite movie directors.
Oh
He
yeah,
says
yeah.
totally, he grew up on Degrassi and he was influenced by that show and a
He's
lot of it. And
Canadian
that's like,
too.
no, he's from New Jersey.
Okay,
He's
so there's
American.
okay, okay.
But he's heavy into like Degrassi. He even, I think, like directed a few episodes of the newer one and, starred
Oh,
on a few episodes and stuff. And, but yeah, we have stuff totally like that goes out there and spreads out there to the world. You remember Raccoons? Remember that cartoon, The
yo,
Raccoons?
that was my show, man. I love
Right?
that cartoon, man.
They had the epic intro and everything. You're like,
Yo, the music on
damn.
that show, that was amazing.
Absolutely,
Like
bro.
I
That's the
brought that
shit.
back up, yo, and I listen to the music. Like that shit's like
Yeah,
singed into my memory, yo. Like it's
yeah.
incredible, yo.
What
Yo, you
about
remember Littlest Hobo?
Of course, this dog just just going out there and solving problems
Oh,
and
this guy was
all
better
types
than
of crazy
Lassie still.
shit.
I ain't gonna lie, man.
Trust me.
Like
And
in
he
the
made it
80s.
across the whole country. He wasn't just in one town. Like he was just like, all
Yeah,
right, man, I solved the problems in this town. I'm out. Peace.
man. Oh
Yeah,
man, this
last he was some other one, like Thunder Bay, something adventure or whatever.
I'm not sure
No,
about
that
that.
was a crazy
That
one.
sounds
I just had
mad
like an epic
familiar too,
intro.
yo.
The
Shit.
intro was just like it made it look way more interesting than it was, but then the Canadian production, you're like, oh, this is so cheesy.
Yeah, that's
But
crazy,
I was
yo.
gonna say another one. Oh shoot, you ever obviously Mr. Dress Up.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's the dress up
Okay,
show.
so you know what I mean? Like where I work, they have the Mr. Dress Up tree. You know what I mean? Because I work at
Oh,
CDC, right? So I walk by
yeah.
this tree, and it didn't even dawn on me for a few years that I was walking by the Mr. Dress Up tree till one of my boys was like telling me the story how he brought his family member and was showing them. I'm like, oh shit, you are right. That is the Mr. Dress Up tree. What the hell, yo? I went and looked at it,
It's
seen the
wild,
whole
man.
Casey
Shout
Finnegan
out
would come
Mr.
out.
Dress
And,
Up, yeah. That's huge, yo.
yeah, Mr. Dress Up. There's all that shit, man.
Remember
Fred Penny's
Lunel
place.
and the clown, Lunel the clown, and okay, with the
Yeah,
big comfy couch.
big comfy couch. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
comfy couch. She was a hottie still.
Yeah, I saw her when she got older, yo. She looked good still. I ain't gonna
Yeah, bro. Totally. She's a baddie. She's a straight
lie.
up baddie, bro. Like you go
Yeah.
back and watch that now, you be like, hold up. Who is this for?
She like flexible, you know what I mean? Shit.
Yeah,
Help
showing the
me do my
time and
stretches and shit. You know what I mean?
yeah. I was a little, you know what I'm saying, too old for that one, but I put it on and I was like, I see what you're doing right now. I get it. I totally get it. Because when I was younger, my pops would throw on the 20-minute workout shows. It came on like City
Oh,
TV
yeah, that's it.
early, like 7 in the morning or
Yeah.
whatever, wake up. And I'd always look at him like, Dad, why you got this on? I want to watch cartoons. But then the older I got, I'm like,
Okay, I get it now. See what this guy's doing.
yeah, that or Key
Body break.
Complexity or Body. Oh,
Body break.
Hal and
Hal Johnson,
Hal,
Joanne McLeod.
Joanne McLeod. My
Tell
God.
you, this shit is singed into my memory, yo, for
Yo, so
30
now I
years
gotta
ago.
make a video on that because you want to hear something crazy. I'm gonna give you an exclusive before I make the body break video, bro. You know why
Okay.
body break exists?
Why? No.
All right, so Hal Jordan went out for a job at TSN
Mm.
for one of like their analyst jobs or whatever, but they either already had a black guy or at the time they didn't want to hire a black guy. So he was like, oh, all right, cool. Well, I'm gonna go out and do this with my real wife and make these like commercials or whatever and start this whole kind of like thing, the Body Break Foundation or whatever. And that's how he started doing Body Break with his wife because TSN wouldn't hire him.
Yeah, you look like you should be a sports analyst or something, like
I
for
think he
sure.
was a hockey player. He might have been like if I'm not mistaken, he might have been a hockey player or something. But
Okay.
yeah, I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that. I'm gonna have to go do my Googles on that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that just clicked in my memory. So I'm gonna go like research that over the next few days if I can remember after this
Yeah, shout out Hal
conversation. Do the body
Johnson,
break
Joanne
video.
McLeod, yo. Shout out to them.
Yeah, body break. Yo, that shit was class. There's so much classic. The don't you put it in your mouth fucking video that used to come on. See, I know you
That's
remember
how,
that.
yeah, for sure, man. For sure.
Yo, I know you
Oh,
remember that. So they stopped playing that after a while, and me and my boy were like singing that, to each other or whatever. And like, my girl at the time, she was like, "What the fuck? What are you singing?" Because she didn't grow up here. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And I'm like, this isn't fake. Like, I'm not making this up. This isn't a stupid song. And I showed her the video. She didn't believe me. She thought I was just making up some bullshit. And I'm like, no, no, this is like they used to show us this shit as a kid. It was these people just telling you like, don't put random
Those
shit in your
puppets,
mouth.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. It's crazy,
Puppets.
man. Like, yo, it's wild, yo. What, like you
TV.
watch SCTV,
Yeah, of course.
Second City?
Of course,
Yeah.
John Candy and fucking
Eugene
uh
Levy and
Eugene Levy. Yeah, yeah. The woman,
yeah.
old lady from Home Alone. Can't remember her name right now. Kathleen something. But yeah, man, absolutely. For sure.
Yeah,
That's a Canadian staple, bro.
for sure, like
Even that show I think existed because like Saturday Night Live, like those dudes couldn't or weren't on Saturday Night Live, so they created as an alternative Canadian version of it.
like I want to give a huge shout out to John Candy, like I got mad love
Mm,
for him, like
rest in peace. That's the
he's in
homie.
so many great movies, like
Yeah,
Uncle
Uncle
Buck,
Buck. Yeah,
yeah,
Home Alone.
what is it? What was it? Cool Runnings and shit.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
it's
Cool
just
Runnings.
some
I saw that in the
hard
theater,
movies.
man.
Yeah, yeah, man. Some great content, Great Canadian content.
Yep, yep.
I
You
mean,
was
like
you was
that's one thing.
cool.
Like that's one thing is like I think Canadians we appreciate American content a lot, but we gotta really appreciate our own while they're here, before they
Oh yeah,
cross over to the States,
for sure. Jim Carrey's Canadian. Mike
Yeah,
Myers is Canadian, bro. Like, there's so many people. And like, if you think about, I grew up in Scarborough. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what part of the city you grew up in, but I grew up in Scarborough. You know what I mean? So for me growing up, like to know that Mike Myers came up around the corner in Agent Court, Jim Carrey came up in Agent Court, Bare Naked Ladies came up around the corner. It was like, a lot of talent, come out of this borough, yo. You know
yeah,
what I
no
mean?
kidding.
So there's a lot of talent across this country that definitely exists out there. I think people just definitely, I think we maybe not an inferiority complex, but we're so close to America, and America's a cultural juggernaut. So we almost get swallowed up by them. Like we forget we're less than 90 minutes away from the American border. Like
Yeah,
I can drive there right now if there's no traffic, probably get there in like 70 minutes. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
So we're totally Americanized in that sense, but yeah, we do have this uniquely Canadian culture and things that are our own that goes totally beyond Tim Hortons maple syrup and fucking hockey. Because I hate when that's the only things that are promoted. And it's like, we have so much more than that. You know what I mean? Even within hip hop, so much more. And even just beyond Toronto, we got a lot of great Canadian hip hop. You know what I
yeah.
mean? We got the Rascals, Swollen Members. Fuck.
Man,
I
I
mean, and
got
that's
mad
just
love. Like classified, I got mad love for it too.
classified. You know what I mean?
Man,
Like,
like I remember. Did you ever watch Much Vibe? Back,
yeah, yeah, for sure. The channel,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I
I
love
would,
that thing.
I'd watch Much Vibe, and I would see classifieds like videos with the animated, the cartoons.
Their times, yeah.
Yeah, that show was hard, I was just like, man, who is this guy,
Hmm. Hmm.
And it was just like, then I found out he produced too, and I was just like, yo, I gotta check out this guy's music, like his albums. I remember this one
Absolutely.
song, like I swear this guy sampled Michael Jackson. I don't know if he cleared it or whatever, but it was like that beat was
Like,
so fire, Like the track was so fire,
yeah.
I got mad respect for him because I produce and rap too, So it's like people that do both of them, I know that shit ain't easy, So
Hmm.
yeah,
No, it's
classified.
definitely a talent. It's definitely a
Yeah.
talent if you can do both and to be good at both, you know what I mean? And be able to absolutely apply that. Like, that's absolutely a talent in and of itself.
I also want to shout out Adam Bomb, Like this guy, like
Mm.
there's some people
Mm.
out here, and I love his like he's kind of like a cynic, about like the whole hip hop culture and everything, the shit they talks about, and it just like when you talk
Yeah,
about
bro, I don't know, man. That's the
Canada
homie.
and you talk about like the hip hop scene, and it's just like so much talent that's unappreciated, and a motherfucker could be a Juno winner and then be on the bus the next day and shit. That shit is like the realest shit in the world to me. So like,
Hmm.
and it's a shame, that like someone could be talented and then
Right,
also like that level of talent, they don't get the props they deserve, and even when they
right,
do, they gotta still go to their 9 to 5 the next day and not be
right.
like and still not feel as successful as they should be.
Absolutely. I definitely know what you mean, it doesn't speak to the talent of the person, because the talent of the person definitely speaks for itself. It speaks to where our industry is and taking our talent serious.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but unfortunately, I think that's just what it is right now. Again, it boils down to the whole thing where I was saying, where America's right there, and they're a cultural juggernaut. So
Yeah.
as we're saying, like, a lot of Canadians, we take our stuff for granted. We might take it for granted. Oh, it's from Toronto, whatever. I can hear it all the time. Blah 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 blah. They're Toronto, they're Toronto. What we don't realize is, like, yo, yeah, Toronto. Elsewhere around the world, they're looking at it like, yo, that dude's from Toronto. Like, let me check that out. Like, this dude's killing it. You know what I mean? Like, so we don't understand that out in Europe, Asia, they love that stuff. You know what I mean? So it's just it's definitely a shame that you know, a lot of our a lot of our friends, what I mean, they're not in a situation where, even ourselves, where we were able to eat off of our art the way we should have. And a lot of it, I'm not necessarily speaking for Adam Baum, because I don't know at all, but I can speak for myself and some others that I know. A lot of it is just that we weren't handling our business the way we should have handled business. You know what I mean? Or we're just not, you know, doing what we, could be doing to maximize our potential. You know what I mean? Because if you look at somebody like KOTD, they're number one in the world. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, when it comes to battle leagues, they are the
Oh, there you
number
go. Shout out
one
to
battle league in the
Organic.
world. Shout out to Organic. That's totally built from the
And this,
ground up here in Toronto, and
for
they're
sure.
number one worldwide. You know what I mean? Like, people could argue other leagues if they want. This is my opinion personally, because they are the homies, but seeing what they did over the last
I
decade and a
never,
half, it's like,
of all
wow.
the battle rap leagues, I never heard anything bad about KOTD. Like, they're the only
Exactly.
ones I heard that were everybody properly. And yeah, like, that speaks volumes for how many years he's been doing it. I remember when Organic had them battles in front of, like, out in the park and shit, in parking lots or whatever, and he just kept
Absolutely.
growing it. Like, I was
Absolutely.
I was um at some of these battles and some of these events, and I seen it just grow and grow and grow. So yeah, shout out to him for holding the culture down and conducting good business, and
That's what's up. Shout out to
definitely
the whole
salute him.
KOTD fam, because it's more than just Organic. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like, Organic's the fam, salute, but it's a whole moving thing. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of the guys behind the scenes, him as well, and a lot of them are fam, and you know what I mean. Like, they definitely all deserve their flowers, as well as Organic, for creating this thing that is absolutely amazing, and will go down in history as you know one of the most important battle leagues, if not, the battle league that really helped change the perception of battle rap, and commercializing it in a way that, it became viable for these people to do it and eat, and, like, become known off of it, as opposed to just, hey, I'm online, I'm battling, or we're battling here, or whatever, on the street. Like, they took it and turned it into legitimate leagues, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, yeah,
that's
it brought
amazing.
Canada on the forefront of the whole battle scene
Oh,
worldwide for sure.
absolutely, absolutely. And anytime you say KOTD, King of the Dot, you know what I mean? So it started here. But yeah, man, shout out to those guys. Those are the fam, and everybody involved deserves their flowers, because, you know, it'll it'll be a while before somebody does something like that again from our city, and really has an impact like that, you know, on a grand scale of that level.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just crazy how much the culture changes, how much Canada changes, and yeah, like
Shout out Bishop Brigante as well. He's going through his thing right now, you know what I mean? So shout out to him, and trying to, bring awareness to, colon cancer, and getting checked, early in your 30s and whatnot, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Shout out
especially
to
our
him.
age. Yeah,
Yeah, you know what I mean? Shout out to him and everything he's going through, you know what I mean? If you don't know, what I'm saying, Google Bishop Brigante. He's on a great mission right now, you know what I mean? And salute to him.
yeah, right up there. Yeah, man.
That's the homie.
Yeah, man. It's great because yeah, I remember him um touring with different artists like Gangstar and
Yeah,
There's always been this Canadian connection to New York, to the West Coast,
right,
and
right.
like just how and Europe, just touring around the world, like um, it's kind of been slept on, but people that if you know, you definitely know.
Absolutely. There's a whole history here before Drake. Shout out to Drake. But there's a whole history in hip hop of Toronto and of Canada, bringing it back to the Canadian culture. There's a massive history going back to Michie Me, going back to Ron Nelson, DJ Ron Nelson, sorry. You know what I mean? Like us bringing the Jamaican culture into hip hop, which is something that KRS-One and Busta Rhymes and some of these guys really did, you know. But that really kind of started here. We have a history, you know what I mean? We have a whole hip hop movement, that is beautiful, that is here, that is thriving, could thrive a hell of a lot more. Lack of much music definitely hurt it, in my opinion. But, you know, we have a history here that predates Drake.
You remember Master T?
Of course. I got his bio up in my crib right now, bro. Hold on, I'm gonna do you even one better. You remember Oliver?
Oliver, which Oliver?
He was one of the hosts of Rap City.
Okay, okay.
Oliver and Tracy.
Yeah,
So
no,
I worked with.
was that before
Oh,
Master T?
no, because Master T did Extended Mix. He never did Rap City. He
Oh,
did the mix, right? So Rap City was a different show, and for a while they had this young dude named Oliver who was hosting it. I actually work with him. I don't work with him, you know what I mean? But I work at the same building with him downtown CBC. Tracy was another girl, Tracy Malcher, and eventually she did a bunch of work for CTV and whatnot. I worked with her on the TV show, for a minute. Even who did the voiceovers on Much Music for all the animated interactives and
yeah.
G Wonder.
Word?
Word up,
Well,
bro.
shout
G
out to
did
G
that.
Monday. Oh, holy.
He was the guy who did the voiceovers on Much Music for like those animated interactives and
Wow.
it was like this artist, blah 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 blah. Like that was him, bro.
Wow, that's fire, bro.
You
That's
gotta
crazy.
holler at him on that one, bro.
Yeah, man. Damn, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's history. You know what I mean? Like that's that's the history of the city, bro.
Yeah, man. Nah, definitely, yo. He's the OG, yo, in this city,
It's
yo. Like
Unc.
the hip hop OG.
That's Unc right there. Sorry, I'm just adjust his
Yes,
phone, but
sir.
yeah, that's Unc right there, bro.
Yeah, man. That's crazy, man. Like, yeah, like there's only so much like this is a dope conversation because like if you really Toronto and if you really Canada, you know this, like these are things you
Yeah,
know. Like these are the
nah,
people
no
that like
doubt.
shaped our culture.
No doubt, no doubt, man. Chris Jackson, that's my dude, that's my boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's people behind the scenes. He's one of the people behind the scenes. You know what I mean? He's a dope dude. You know what I mean? Who really, really helped mold this into what it is. And people don't even know about people like him. Farley Flex, Saul Guy. You know what I mean? Like, there's people behind the scenes who, really, really helped put a lot of these people into the places they're in. You know what I mean? And those dudes, they're the unsung heroes of the culture up here, you know what I mean? Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, man. Nah, it's like there's definitely a great legacy in Canada and Toronto, and whether it's hip
Absolutely.
hop or whether it's Canadian content in general.
Mhm.
Uh, it's a lot to be celebrated and appreciated, and a lot of people that should be celebrated and appreciated.
Absolutely. I mean, we even had a show back in the 90s. Remember a show called Drop the Mic? I think that's what it was called. I
Drop
think
the mic.
Infinite was, yeah, I think Infinite was on it and shit. It was a CBC show, hip hop based, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I remember Rock the Mic. It was, but that was like a live. That was like a fucking open mic show.
Mm.
But yeah, man. Like another thing I wanted to talk to you about was like your background too. Um, yeah. So yeah, tell me about your background.
All right, so I guess with me, like I'm kind of like a mix of everything. But definitely black. Pops is black, light skin, but he's black. You know what I'm saying? Probably your complexion. You know what I mean? Mom's Asian, Japanese. You know what I mean? A little bit of European in her. Yeah, and I guess Pop's got a little bit of European in him too, because when you're our color, that somewhere along the line something happened. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, so for the most part, I tell people that I'm black and Japanese because that's really what I consider myself. But I do have a white stepmother who, helped raise me because I grew up with my pops as opposed to my mom. But, you know, obviously, like, my mom's still in my life, not as much, but you know what I mean? So I grew up around like everything, everybody, you know what I mean? But me, myself, that's what I am. I got a Filipino wife, so my daughter's kind of, Filipino with a mix of everything that I am. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see what she looks like when she gets a little bit older. And yeah.
That's dope, man. Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's another great thing about Canada. How many different cultures came together, different ethnicities came together, and
Yeah,
it's a lot of mixed, like mixed babies. I mean, a lot of different mixes, you know. So yeah, that's dope.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely. A lot more Blasian kids coming up, and I'm one of the prototypes. So
yeah, there we go.
there wasn't a whole lot of, others when I was coming up, but I look around now and I'm like, oh shit, like these all look like they could be my cousins and little
Yeah,
brothers and sisters, are kids now, so yeah.
that's what's up. That's what's up. So what's your father's background?
We Scotian, but again, that's Scotian via coming up through America to get to Nova Scotia. His pops is Jamaican. We came, or I guess he came over at some point in time. Shoot, I don't even know what point in time. I know his grandfather also was here too and fought in like World War I, part of the only, segregated black battalion that Canada really ever had. You know what I mean? They were on a stamp a couple years ago and whatnot. So yeah, my pops is like Scotian, Jamaican. We do our DNA tests. We're from like all of the countries where essentially, slaves were taken and brought to the Indies or brought to America and whatnot. But I got family, bro. I got family in like Cuba. I got family in Puerto Rico. I got family all over the states, like that just started kind of, meeting in the last 5 years. And I'm like, shit, like how are there so many of y'all? And like you guys are just popping up all over, you know what I mean? Like all over America, whatever. And we're the ones that made it to like Eastern Canada and then made it to Toronto and
Yeah, it's pretty
we're
wild.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, my grandmother's Scotian, and yeah,
Okay.
like I really don't know where her family was before that. Like she did a one of those DNA tests, and she was like 33% Nigerian.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I don't know where else. I'll have to look back into it.
Probably
Uh,
Nigeria, Mali, Bantu peoples, you know what I mean? Like that's all the Western African countries is where, as a people, we were kind of like taken from and then brought to the Indies or Brazil, you know what I mean, South America or America, but we were taken from like Western Africa. So, you take any of like our DNA for the most part, it's going to show like little bits of Nigeria, little bits of Mali, those Western Africa countries and whatnot that they took them from.
yeah, but I know her side of the family goes back at least 5, 6 generations in Canada. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like that brings up another thing to me is like um uh the Black diaspora within Canada, and
Right.
like um how much it's changed within the last generation or two. You know, there's a lot of people that just got here to Canada, or their parents just got here in the 80s. You know, so
Right.
it's like I think us that have been here for generations, you know, uh like yeah, we gotta. I think we gotta shine a more spotlight on us so we don't get forgotten about, because there's so
I
many,
feel you.
you know, there's so many.
So many new people.
Yeah, there's the Caribbeans and people who
Right.
come from Africa, and you know they
Right.
definitely shine their spotlight and represent their culture. You know, but like I think
Right.
we gotta come together so we we have a
No,
voice
I
too in
absolutely
Canada.
feel you. Absolutely feel you. It's like we almost kind of get forgotten about and get swallowed up, whatnot. And it's like, okay, so they celebrate, if you're African, they have these things for you and this, that for you and whatnot. But it's like with us, it's like, if we don't necessarily, you know, um feel Jamaican or Trinidadian or whatnot, if we don't necessarily affiliate with any of those things, and we don't necessarily feel the same about Canada. Like we might like some of these things, but there's still something that's missing. So sometimes it's like, yeah, where do I uniquely fit in here? Right? Do I
Right.
fit in here? Where's my spot that, I could claim and call my own here? I totally, totally get that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm just like, whatever, man. You know what I mean? Like I'm here. Fuck. I love it. It is what it is. You know what I mean? But it's interesting because yeah, like have you been down to like states at all before? Have you driven through America at all before?
Not in a long time, not since I was smaller.
Okay. So like, when you go down there, it's the same. You know what I mean? Like you see a brother down there, you give him what up? You know what I mean? Like the same type of mannerisms. Like you might check his sneakers, or if you got the hot shoes, hot kicks on, someone's gonna shout you out for that. And you know what I mean? Like it's almost the same, but like in a way, when you're there, you kind of feel like, you know what I mean? Because you feel, I don't know, man. Like felt I like I felt like I wasn't necessarily anywhere different. You know what I mean? Like shit, I but yeah, I get what you're saying when it comes to like us kind of like falling into a bubble here in Canada, or falling into a pocket where it's like, where do we fit in? And but we're Canadian just as much as anyone else. You know what I mean? People are
Yeah,
like,
I'm
yo,
saying
blah, blah, blah.
we're more Canadian. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah,
But that's what I mean. Well, like also like I'm all for it. Everybody come in, and like I'm down for Caravana. I'm down.
yeah,
I'm eating the goosey and all that. Like I'm down to jam with Afro beats and everything. Like I'm all.
right.
I celebrate everybody's culture. And that's what I mean. It's also like uh when it comes to culture, it's like, and multiculturalism is like, uh where is the identity that you had before the multiculturalism identity,
Hmm.
yeah. So
I
that's
feel
what
you.
I mean. I don't think one should cancel out the other. That's
No,
basically,
absolutely. You shouldn't really have to choose. You should be able to celebrate both,
yeah,
and I think like we're going through an identity crisis right now in Canada because a lot of
yeah,
people, are so upset with the amount of immigrants we have. And for me, I don't care. You know what I
yeah,
mean? For me, I'm like, you could bring all the immigrants that you want. I'm not mad at them. If anyone's gonna pack up their stuff, move over here, move away from their life halfway around the world and try to start something new over here. You guys are just here for a
right.
few months, a year or two, whatever. Bro, hats off to them because I don't have the courage to get up and leave the country and go do that somewhere else. I never
To
had in my life.
a different
So if they
language,
can do
different
that and they
everything.
want to, yeah, it takes a lot to do that. And I
Yeah,
respect that. Salute those people, and it's like, get yours, bro. Get yours because no one's going to hand it to you. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I think Canada's going through this identity crisis because we've been known as the country for so long that's been so good to immigrants and this, that, and the other. And now people are like starting to show open aggression towards immigrants and blaming all the problems on them and all types of stuff. And I'm like, yo, this
yeah.
is weird. Like when did this
Yeah.
change? And
When I speak to people about immigration, I think like the majority of people, or at least the ones I've spoken to, they don't have a problem with the immigrants themselves. It's really just the infrastructure and the government not really supporting that much immigration. Like they
Right,
come
right.
here, and then what are they supposed to do? That you got all these students coming here, and a lot of them are homeless. They have no place
Mm,
to go, and you
right.
see them on the street. In wintertime, and it's brutal. Or that you see them line up, like hundreds of them line up to get one job at Tim Hortons and shit.
True.
It's crazy. So it's just like this. The immigration, you need to support these people if they're coming in here, and they deserve homes, they deserve jobs, and yeah, the government needs to do a better job of supporting that, building the infrastructure and focusing on
True.
that.
True. No, I definitely agree with that. You know what I mean? And that's definitely a sound argument, and that's coming from, an actual like educated response as opposed to people who try to blame them on all the problems and start, labeling Canada, like, oh, it's India now and this, that, and the other. And to me, it's just like, bro, culture always changes here in Canada. There's always different waves of immigrants coming from other places. Like in my area right now where I live, which is Kingston Road and Main Street, there's a lot of like Latino people. Like there's a huge influx of primarily Latino people all of a sudden within the last, couple years. And it's like, yo, I got no problem with that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm totally cool with that. That's the next wave that people will probably be talking about in a few months or a year or two, whatever, right? It's like I'm good, whatever. But yeah, we do have problems as far as, if we have structure and, the system set up for this, but we have to change, we have to grow, we have to adapt. But that's not me and you per se. That's our leaders, that's Canada. We have to change as a country and adapt and, you know, grow into the century that we're in instead of trying to live like we're in the last century, which I think
Yeah,
is our problem in this country. We're so dependent on Big Brother America, and we're still living like it's the 1900s as opposed to fucking 2024. It's almost 2025. You know what I mean? It'll be 2100 before they even step in and realize, oh shoot, it's a new millennium. Like
yeah. We gotta catch up. Like it's just a matter of looking forward and not just keep repeating the same problems.
right, right, absolutely. Well, just give me one second. I'm just gonna start this car real quick.
Yeah, man. But I think this has been a uniquely Canadian conversation.
Canadian perspective point, definitely. I usually, you know what I mean? Like it's not often that have a conversation about even just being Canadian or, but it is something that we exist in, like you said, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people take it for granted and we don't even really consider that. And just us as Black people is a whole different perspective that a lot of people don't even know exists up here, because we go through the exact same problems that they go through in the States as far as problems with the law and authority and people looking at us and assuming that we're criminals, jobs, you know what I mean? Like everything, and that's why I said when you go down to the States and you know what I mean, like you're walking around like it's the same. Brothers down there, the same as brothers up here. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
same. They might have different styles or different ways they speak depending which part you go to. But at the end of the day, bro, we're the same no matter where we go in this world. I've been to Cuba and we're the same over there. You know what I mean? Seen brothers over there that don't even speak English and they look like they could be my cousins. And I'm like, yo, we're
exactly.
really the same. No matter, like we got the same mannerisms no matter where you go in the world, bro. You know what I mean? Like that's just us, who we are, you know.
Yeah, like I
Different
was
stories,
talking to
different
this.
perspectives.
Yeah, sorry to cut you. Yeah, I was talking to this lady that's another guest on my podcast earlier today, and she was like my auntie, yo. I mean, like she just
Yeah,
felt like my auntie, and it was just that connection that's just so familiar. And we were talking about culture too. It's just like, yeah, she was like, yeah, your grandma and my grandma, we probably could find a list of things that we could relate on, and
right.
we're from different parts of the world, but we're still the same.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Absolutely the same, UK, same, you know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
UK, the islands, bro, we're the same. Same, you know what I mean? Just different foods sometimes, but different accent. Same
Yes,
though.
but there you go. But yeah, man. I want to thank you for making the time to have this conversation.
Absolutely, my brother. I appreciate you having me on, my G. Like,
Definitely, yo. Do you have any plugs? Anything you want to plug, and or how people could reach out and contact you?
yeah, if you're on Facebook, just look me up on Facebook, Dustin Wareham. That's my government name. You can YouTube that as well. I'm on YouTube under that. Or if you're on TikTok, 80s favorite babies, as well as Instagram. That's just the nostalgia stuff. So you can definitely hit me up. You know what I mean? Look out for that. Um, that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? Just my government or 80s favorite babies. That's the two ways you can get in touch with me. You know what I mean? And just look out for more videos, more ideas, short little reels that, I'm doing. Long form podcast, 80s favorite bass podcast is coming out soon. We're just totally getting that set up and getting ready to unroll that, you know what I mean, and show that out to the world. So shout out to the crew there. And who knows, Toronto Talks, we might be able to bring that back in the future. Definitely, something we might do. But yeah, 2024 is definitely about, more presence online. So thank you for having me on here, allowing me to plug all my stuff, you know what I mean, and just chatting, bro. It's always fun just to chat.
Yes, sir. Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate you, brother.
Likewise, my G. I appreciate you. Stay healthy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like too many people out here, unfortunately, passing away. So definitely stay healthy, stay up, appreciate your life on everything. You know what I mean? Like live your life to the fullest because you never know when you're gonna live your last day. And hopefully that's not prophetic in any way for anybody that we know right
yeah,
now.
you know
But
what I'm saying? Yes, sir.
just the shit that, unfortunately a few friends passed in the last few weeks and just puts things in perspective for me where it's like,
For
yo,
sure, for
you
sure.
know, enjoy your life, live it to the fullest because time is short here. We don't know what happens when we're gone, man. But we don't need to go that route right now, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's all love.
Absolutely love, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, have a good one, man.
Yes, sir. Salute. Happy Easter. Have
You
a
ain't
great night,
got
my
what you
brother.
wanted,
One love.
but you got what you need. Now you got what you wanted. You ain't got what you need. You ain't got what you wanted, but you got what you need. Now you got what you wanted, but you ain't got what you need. No one said it'd be easy. No one said it'd be good. No one ever tried to teach me, even though I wish they would. Everybody playing my games, thinking they in control. About trying to be righteous, announcements with they soul. It's always push and pull. Why it's always run and chase? Some things I wanted forever, and I'm number of waste. Perfect ain't nothing replace. Feel like I'm running in place. Feel like I'm stuck in a maze. Hoping it just was a phase. And you got what you wanted, but you got what you need. And you got what you wanted, you ain't got what you need. Ain't got what you wanted, but you got what you need. Now you got what you wanted, you ain't got what you need. I just wanna grow now. Ain't tryna act like I know now. I'm grown but ain't old now. Lift up with who I hold down. Keep my circle much smaller. If it ain't worth it, I don't bother. Spell my purpose of father. Do this work for my daughter. Sometimes it hurt, I get caught up. Sometimes it's worse while I solve it. Sometimes my nerves is a problem. I don't know, I work a little calmer. Niggas is thinking it's easy. Niggas that didn't survive it. But my God keep me breathing. My prayer answers, I'm thriving. You got what you wanted, but you got what you need. Now you got what you wanted, but you ain't got what you need. You ain't got what you wanted, but you got what you need. Now you got what you wanted, but you ain't got what you need. Baby, pride, baby, pride, baby.